feel them for what they truly are.
I got a pretty good idea what them bodies are.
I'll tell.
Craziest thing I've heard in a long time.
Ah! Check the rose garden.
I don't believe a word of it.
But it's true.
Bill Paxton.
Those were demons. Why can't you see that?
Matthew McConaughey.
Tell me the truth.
Sometimes truth defies reason.
You're crazy.
Only demons should fear me. You're not a demon, are you?
Welcome back to the 11th annual Halloween special. I am so excited to talk to you guys tonight about Frailty. This was the directorial debut of actor Bill Paxton, and he stars in the film along with Matthew McConaughey. It's about a mysterious man who arrives at the offices of an FBI agent and recounts his childhood, how his religious fanatic father received visions telling him to destroy people who were demons. In certain circles, Frailty is highly regarded, namely filmmakers. Writers and directors talk about this movie all the time. It has inspired, I believe, quite a bit of horror films. The movie debuted at a film festival in 2001, but it had its major release in 2002. And if you've seen a genre film since then that has a small family dealing with some sort of domestic problem, namely in a rural area like a farm, or has any type of religious undertones to it, more than likely the writer or director has seen Frailty and took something from it. It's a movie that does not get enough credit, and I mean that in a lot of different ways. I don't just mean the film's underrated, because I definitely think it is. I think a lot of people have stolen from this movie and not given it credit because it isn't that well known. It isn't discussed that often. But if you're a horror writer, you know Frailty. Just the basic premise of the movie is highly disturbing. The idea that a father who isn't abusive in the slightest, he loves his children very, very much and is kind and good to them, could wake up one night, walk into his kid's room and say, "I was just visited by an angel, and the angel told me that you have to help me kill demons. They look like people, but they're not. And you guys are going to help me do it. You can't tell anybody about it." It's an astonishingly good idea for a horror film that leans more drama. And remarkably, the writer of this film, Brent Hanley, has only one feature credit to his name. And it's even more remarkable that Bill Paxton made this movie. Not just that it's Bill Paxton and he has this persona that we've seen on screen and loved for many years, but he made it as his first movie. And it's such a risky and daring film that could easily turn off a lot of audiences because not only does it have very mature religious undertones that at times suggests that true, fervent belief in God can possibly create a murderer, but it also enlists very young children in the crimes themselves. Roger Ebert's excellent 4-star review of this movie mentioned that only an actor turned director would make a film like this because it's so risky and you don't have to rely on a really good movie as a director only to get a next job. You're an actor still, and you can probably get another job as an actor. And that kind of takes the risk factor down. And Ebert might have been right, but Paxton's direction is by no means ignorant. It's not that he is just an actor turned director and he doesn't really know what it's like to make a movie. He clearly did. He was obviously paying attention quite often when he worked with great people like James Cameron. And I feel equally sad that he only made this and The Greatest Game Ever Played with Shia LaBeouf, which is actually pretty good too. I don't know why he only directed 2 movies. I'm glad that they're both good and well received, but watching the film tonight, I was left kind of with a hole in my stomach. I just felt really sad knowing I'm not going to see a Bill Paxton movie ever again. And seeing him on screen too made me miss him even more. The film had a budget of $11 million, grossed just over 13 in the States and 17 worldwide, so not like a smashing success or anything. I don't know how it did with rentals at the time. I'm assuming pretty good, but the film didn't really have that massive impact that I'm assuming they would have preferred it to have when it was first released. But over the years, as I said at the start of the video, it has absolutely gained a massive following. And even still, when I talk to people about Frailty, people who I expect to know what Frailty is, sometimes they're like, wait, is that one movie? And they don't really know what I'm talking about. I'm like, yeah, it has that semi-well-known actor, what's his name? Matthew McConaughey in it. Come on, man. And he's excellent in the film, by the way. I love early, serious Matthew McConaughey. Pre-McConaissance with Mud and Lincoln Lawyer and Interstellar and all those movies. Like A Time to Kill and this, he was clearly like capable of doing performances that were very dark and very well acted. He did a lot of rom-coms, some of them good, some of them not so much, but I love going back to his earlier films and seeing just how much talent he really has. But the most fascinating aspect of the film for me is the perspective of the young boy who does not believe in God and thinks his father's mental health is at stake, and is watching his dad bring people to a shed in the backyard and saying, "Son, help me murder this person." And he's just terrified, doesn't know what to do. He even tries to go to the cops, and the cops don't believe him. This to me struck a chord of one of the most fundamental arguments that's ever to be had, and that is, do you believe or do you not? Is there something out there? Is there not something out there? And what if that something out there that your father believes in that you don't is forcing him to murder people? It's just such a fascinating idea, and it carries the whole movie. But it's really that conflict that's within the heart of this boy that is the emotional core of the film. And there are some killer lines, like when the father forces the boy to dig a hole until he has faith. And he's like, just pray while you dig this hole, and then maybe we can call it quits. When his father leaves, the boy is like, you can make me dig this hole, but you can't make me pray. And that simple line, again, is just so cutting. And in that sequence where the boy brings the sheriff home and is like, just go look in the shed. I'm not lying. My dad is really doing these things. And the sheriff is like, well, if it has to be done. And the father looks at his son and goes, well, does it have to be done? And you know what he's actually asking. He's like, if I bring him in there, I'm going to have to kill that guy. And he's looking at his son, blaming him for it. There's so many implications to the dialogue that reaches beyond just simple line readings. Behind the camera, Paxton is fairly simple. He uses cross dissolves a lot in the edit. It's very old-fashioned. His next film, The Greatest Game Ever Played, and what was unfortunately his last film he directed, was far fancier with some of the camera work and the golf matches. But here he's extremely restrained. I have only one thing about the film that I wish could be a little better, and this does involve some spoilers. So if you have not seen Frailty, I'm going to warn you that I will discuss some aspects of the ending right here. The movie all but essentially confirms that the father was not delusional in any way, and he really was killing demons. There's a bit of a twist with who the narrative is actually about as well, which is fun. But I do kind of wish that the film left us wondering, because I think that the confirmation of any kind of faith in this movie, whether it's the boy is right or the dad is right, it just kind of detracts from the conversations that one could have when it ends. But it still works, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where I'm like, well, that works just fine. But then maybe I have a little bit of a note that it could be just slightly better. For years, I occasionally hear people talking about the movie, and I'm like, someone else who loves Frailty. You're here. That's great. But it doesn't really get the respect it deserves. Guys, if you've never seen Frailty, you really should check it out. It is damn good, and not enough people talk about it. Guys, thank you so much for continuing to watch the 11th annual Halloween special. And if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.